What is going on, baseball fans? We are back at it here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast. We got a full house here to discuss one Nicholas Castellanos. The Phillies have not yet released him, but we know that he has been told not to report to spring training. So this leads to a very important question and one that we're going to discuss here in great length about where Nicholas Castellanos land. So to join me on this discussion, I have a very esteemed panel. So as we go around the room here, Coach Ken Anderson, Roman Rodriguez, Scott Plaza, and Kufu Sarah to join me to discuss Nicky Cass. What's going on, guys?
Thanks for having us, boys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Spring training's here.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
baseball's back,
Best
baby.
time of the
That's all that matters.
Yep. So now we have to deal with the fact that there is another player added to this market. We know it's been kind of a slow and quiet offseason. It took a long time for some of the bigger names to get off the board. And now here's another player that is going to be making his rounds. And as we were discussing before we jumped on here, there should be a lot of interest in this player. So let's kind of go around the room and kind of throw out some early options. Now, before we do that, I do want to let everybody know that following this video here, this live session, there will be an accompanying article on baseballbanterbroadcast.com that I penned with some different potential options for Castellanos. So definitely make sure to check that out. I'll leave it linked in the description below. But as we get through, what are some of the spots that we think that Nick Cass can end up with?
I'll go, and being a representative from the state of Florida, I would probably say Miami, because if he does well, they can always turn him into a nice piece, a pillow piece for a prospect or two, and probably not a major prospect, but if he's really killing it, and there's a team that's, with so many teams being the wild card these days and trying for the wild card, if the Marlins aren't going for it, I could see him trading for maybe a decent trade chip here and there, because they're still trying to build. And much like probably another team that's on the panel, St. Louis. Hey, Scotty, what do you think? Is he going to wear the St. Louis red?
If you asked me this question in October or November, you could actually find that I wrote about how he was a match for the St. Louis Cardinals. But this was at the time where the Cardinals had not, where the Cardinals had, again, this is October, give it to me. But this was at a time when the Cardinals had not yet, or they said they were going to rebuild, but we hadn't seen anything yet. And we have been kind of, when I had Roman on Cardinals on my time, I talked about how spoiled I.
And we lost Scotty for a sec.
There we go. We're back.
Hey, there
we go. So I was saying I had Roman on. We were talking about how I've been spoiled as a Cardinals fan, that now we're going through this rebuild for the first time since I've really been alive. So I can't say the same for everybody else in here. I'm not too sure. But I had figured he could be a fit if they hadn't traded everybody, and then it was like a one-on-one Nolan Arenado, Nicholas Castellanos flip. It kind of scratched the itch for both teams. It got guys away from places where they just kind of needed to go away. But now, as of February 12th, I think that door has closed.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely understand why, kind of the direction that the Cardinals have gone after making all of those moves, the departure of Donovan, trading away Arenado, as you said, those opportunities to seem to be going in a different direction into a much younger crowd for St. Louis. So it would kind of seem to be like a step backwards to pick up a guy like Castellanos.
Well, they've also been linked since the beginning of the offseason to needing right-handed power in the outfield, which is something now that after all those trades, they didn't get a single right-handed outfield bat. So that is something that they still need to do. But I believe now that spring training has happened, they're probably more comfortable giving those at-bats to the younger guys and letting them fight it out. Still hope that Lars Nootbaar is going to be ready for the start of the season, which is looking less and less likely. So there's still going to be that option in left field, but at this point it was looking like they're going to roll with what they have in camp and let the young guys really go for it.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next. So, with the Braves, the interesting thing with them is that they're on this kind of money thing, and they kind of missed out on some pitchers. And a lot of people know we lost our shortstop for at least 2 months, and Murphy is also. So we could use a right-handed kind of power guy, and I would think Alex would do his due diligence and at least call, because Alex loves free help, and in this market here, that's what it's going to be. And he doesn't mind giving guys a second chance. We've done that even with our own players. With Ozuna, got a second chance, and we've done that with other players, that were kind of on the scrap heap. So I think it's unlikely he comes to Atlanta, but to be honest with you, it might make a fit because he could platoon with Yaz in left field while we wait on Kim and Murphy to get back. And we are kind of missing that right-handed power bat in the middle of the lineup to go along with Riley. And so everything else is kind of left-handed driven a little bit with Olsen and Albies and Drake. So I think he'll at least make the phone call. I think it's very unlikely he comes to Atlanta, but I think Atlanta is definitely mixed. And I think almost all the teams, because it's free help, will at least make the phone call. The biggest question I think, Alex, we have a clubhouse. You hear about the Braves way and all that stuff. And I think he would definitely ask Dave Dombrowski, are you releasing him because of talent, or are you releasing him because of other issues? And I think Dave would be honest with most of the GMs in baseball, even if it is a rival, because you don't want that backlash to come when you go to trade later and you gave out bad information. So the GMs are pretty honest with each other. But if it's more just from the lack of output, that he struggled down the stretch like he did last year, he couldn't catch up to the fastball, we might at least take a look at him. But we'll see how it goes. I think a lot of teams in the MLB will at least take a look at him. But I think the Braves will at least make a phone call to see where his head's at and where the rest of the league's at.
Yeah, definitely. Koof?
Yeah, of course, I want it for my team, but the Giants, because we really, really need help in the outfield, man. Like I was telling the guys yesterday in my sports chat, Rum was a part of it. It's our Renegades. We really haven't had a solid outfield core. Don't laugh at me, guys. Since Barry Bonds. I kid you guys. I posted a fun fact yesterday. We haven't had a solid left fielder consistently since Barry Bonds. Every year we get a new one, just in and out, in and out. So to me, I would move Jung Lou Hooley to left. Harrison's at right. Harrison's in center. Nick Castellanos right there in right field. That's a solid outfielder for me right there, baby. Solid. You got his boy Harrison in the center field. They can work together really well. John Cooley's really solid in the outfield as well. I love it competitively. I really think he's really going on. So, me personally, I think he would fit with us, the Giants. But like Coach said earlier, before we talked on this, I don't think Coach Tony would like those antics, though. But I can't get mad at him coaching this guy. So, that's the only downfall to that puppy of him coming over to us. But other than that, I think he'd be a really good fit. But also, I think there's a lot of good teams that he can really go to. Diamondbacks would be a really good fit for him. Who else? Cubs, maybe low key.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many options for him to really go to. It's just what Ty Coach said. What team is going to be willing to really take that good shot and chance with him and really see like, hey, can you still give us what you had in Philly, or can we at least get like, I don't know, half of that or something? Like, can we get something in return, not just your name? That's kind of what I'm also thinking about too. Is are we going to get the name Nick Castellanos, or are we going to get the player Nick Castellanos? Because that's the difference nowadays too.
One of the things real quick, and everybody knows this, his WAR with the Reds was outstanding. His WAR with the Phillies was pretty bad. And so what you're going to do is you're going to try to buy on the high side, the ceiling of the Reds. And that's what you got to do as a team is what are we getting? And you really got to break down the film with him in Philadelphia. He was in a hitter-friendly ballpark, and his WAR is pretty bad. So I see him more as a guy who can bring in Roman's right, Miami. more as stop field just to get you through part of the season, or in a team, and that's the reason Braves I can see making that the same thing to get them through kind of half to get them going, and then you could dump him off later when the guys get back healthy. But yeah, that's the reason why we talked prior. I just don't see him going to San Francisco because that would be more of a long-term fit, and I think they can get somewhere else. And then, like I said, you got to find out what's really going on in the clubhouse with Nick. And I think Dave will be honest with those GMs. He won't say it in public, but he'll be honest with those GMs what was affecting his output, because his output got worse in Philadelphia every year he played there.
Yep.
So three things, guys. And Jeremy, I want to flip to you because I want you to talk about how he's going to fit really well in the Yankees pinstripes.
He's definitely not.
A couple things. First and foremost, Castellanos grew up in Hialeah, Florida. And for those of you who are not familiar where Hialeah, Florida is, it's basically just another county of Cuba. You're welcome. No, I'm kidding. It's in the Miami area. So there's a team in Miami, hometown. It could be fantastic. I'm wondering where my highlighter is, and you keep on reminding me it's there on screen. But no, so it's another reason why it could potentially be a good fit. But what Bendix is building, the GM of the Marlins, he's building a good, solid core with his guys, and he has some really good guys coming down the pipeline very soon that could really potentially be hurt by someone who might be a cancer in the clubhouse, or at least somebody that's tough. If he has an ego, it's going to be too much of a problem for his lack of talent. Now, his lack of talent, let's go ahead and go into that, and then I want to circle back to Koof real quick with your Giants. But his lack of talent really stems from how poor he's been in the outfield. Because if you really digest, because his bat, he's a 2.4 WAR for the offense side. And if you take a look offensively, what he brings to the table, 17 home runs. He had played 132 games last year. And now he did have a 680 OPS plus, or OPS. So that's not too sharp. It is coming. Everything is starting to circle down. And if you take a look at his contemporary, and he's going into his age 34 season. So when you take a look at his contemporary, the first thing that jumped out to mind was Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz is supposedly 34, which if he's 34, I'm 35.
You're killing me, Smells.
For the record, there's the Roman button. You're welcome. So with Yandy Diaz, and he is sharp. He gives you batting average. He gives you on base. He doesn't give you much for defense, and that's the type of player that Castellanos should be. And with Castellanos, he doesn't strike out overtly much. 132 games, he struck out, I believe, in 92 times. So he at least is somewhat, you can digest that. You can work with that. But when you're talking about him going to the Giants, I just real quick took a look. If he went to the Giants, you would probably have some Giants fans over there in the Bay Area throwing themselves off the bridge because I didn't realize this, but your boy Lee, he's basically a left-handed version of Castellanos. Defensively, he's not there. And that was a shock because he was actually pretty strong defensively in the KBO. When I saw him in the KBO during COVID, I was very impressed with how strong he was playing. He looked, at least to me, like Ken Griffey Jr. out there in center. So if you have him in the situation, you might have a Yankees West going on, where not very good. But then again, he does play in that park with the wind and everything. So there's a lot of different factors coming about. So, who knows if it's a different situation. I mean, for the love of Pete, you guys had Pat Burrell at the end of his career playing left. Okay. So yeah, exactly. You're welcome.
There's not a chance you won't Coop. Not a chance you won't Castellanos playing that right field in San Francisco.
Yeah.
That big alley. Bader, he'd kill Bader. Bader had to run for his life.
Yeah.
What else do I have? Like I said, like right now, if opening day was right now, guess who I have to play? You know who I got to play? Jeremy. I got Jeremy. Opening day this year. You know what I'm saying? I got the Yankees. I got the Yankees. What I'm trying to say. I got the Yankees. So
Okay.
if I don't come out strong in the NL West, and we have the number one Dodgers waiting for us to collapse, you got Diamondbacks are slowly building back up. Slowly getting back up there. Padres are doing God knows what. Literally God knows what is going on in San Diego right now. They were literally competing for trying to get to like top the second and then back down. So, for me as a Giant, I just want to see us do something. Now, is he going to be our everyday outfielder guy? No. But what I want is at least somebody who can help up, raise some of these other guys to like, hey,
Hmm.
this is what you need to be a solid right fielder. Yes, you're absolutely right. Was Jung Hoo Lee terrible? Not very, but to me as a Giants fan, I actually liked it. He's probably one of the best hitters we have right now.
Hmm.
Is his offense the solidest? No. His defense the best? No. But guess what? He's a sophomore. His freshman year, he didn't play half the year because he hurt himself trying to make him one of the best defensive catches I saw from a freshman, a rookie Giants player playing so long. I was like, okay, this guy has the heart at least. Does he have the everyday solid top 10 defense? No, but does he have the heart to play it? Yes, that's what I want. Give me heart. Give me solid ABs every single day. The guy had one of the best
Oh yeah.
at bats for us last year. You know what I mean? I hate to say it. I hate to praise the 260 batting average, but Jesus, when the whole league is under 250, what can you do? You know what I mean? The whole league
Mhm.
didn't even hit above 250 last year. But what does Jung Hoo do? 264. Solid. So I would love to see him get moved over to left. Because now I have Harrison. But Harrison knows Nick. So I feel like Harrison could be like, hey, Nick, bro, I get it. You had a bad year in Philly, bro. But guess what?
Mhm.
We're back. We're united. I got you. You're my brother. You're my boy. You got my back. I got yours. Let's turn it around for you. Let's revamp your career. Because I feel like Harrison can do that for him. Maybe I'm just an optimistic Giants fan because I'm really just tired of being in the west bottom of the barrel basement, just praying one day we can get to 500. But I just really feel like with
Mhm.
the solid coaching staff that we have, we can kind of change a lot of stuff around, just that's just me personally. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Well,
trying to
I
figure
mean,
out something.
Nick's going to get a chance to turn it around, and he does have a comeback. You're getting a free player who could just turn around the whole team. Real quick on the Marlins, would that looks like the number one team he should go to? My only question for all of us before we just give him to the Marlins, they had a great clubhouse guy in Ozuna. They could have signed this from Miami, and they didn't sign him. And I kind of wonder if Bendix is like, let's just go with kids. We're just going to roll out
Yeah.
the kids. And he didn't want that clubhouse president. And because that was a steal for Pittsburgh to get Ozuna. Ozuna's a great clubhouse guy, and he can teach, and he's really good with the Latino players. I walk around and I see him, and he's awesome. And he would have been a great fit in Miami, and they didn't sign him. And that contract at $12 million would have been something they could afford. So
Yeah.
I'm not. It looks like Castellanos should go to Miami, but not necessarily. I think he will. And as far as going to California, I think Jeremy's hit on the team that he would go to in California. If you want to take it from there, Jeremy.
So yeah, so in the article that I said we'll be following up this particular stream here, there's a team out west that goes and gets everybody, and they go out there and they find these diamonds in the rough, and they take these players that are cast offs from other places, and they turn them into absolutely incredible part-time players. And who's to say that Nick doesn't go out to the Dodgers and go off and have a career year as a part-time player that plays Tuesdays and Thursdays and only on days that end with the number 6 in the month, in the day of the month, and has a career type year. I mean, that's the kind of magic that the Dodgers have been on lately. So there's definitely an opportunity there. One of the other teams that was kind of an honorable mention, and I think it's more so to do with a recent injury to a player, but I think the Diamondbacks could be a fit, as a little bit of a flyer, taking him while they're still waiting to find out the results of dealing with the Corbin Carroll injury. I think that could, be something where they take a flyer on Nick to have a good start to the year, while they wait for Corbin to really come, around and get the strength back into his swing. And Koof, you mentioned, the Padres were doing strange things, not really sure what the direction is. Nick Castellanos could be headed to the Padres. I mean, that's another team that, while they did pick up Miguel Andujar on a $4 million deal, he's likely projected to be their DH. They have Ramon Liriano out in left field. There's definitely an opportunity there, I think, for more at-bats to be mixed between the three. So that could also be another fit. And one of the teams that I want to mention, and I think that is a very intriguing fit, as we've mentioned, as Coach mentioned, this is a free player, right? This is a guy who's going to be making the major league minimum from whatever team picks him up, because the Phillies are going to be responsible for the majority of that $20 million that's left for his deal this year. And I think that the Guardians could be an interesting fit.
Yeah.
Because Cleveland really doesn't have an heir apparent at right field. They don't really have an heir apparent at DH. And this is a guy who absolutely could put them into a position where they could easily find themselves, building around the team that they have and being able to add in what Nick does, right? The Guardians have been a team that has struggled when it comes to power output. Nick had 17 home runs last year, right? Obviously a down year. His second worst year in Philadelphia. The first year he was there wasn't great either. But 17 home runs would have placed him third in the Guardians lineup in terms of home run total. Nick had 72 RBIs last year, which would have been second behind just Jose Ramirez in the Guardians lineup. So a team that's been depleted for power could absolutely take a flyer on a guy that's going to cost him essentially nothing. And even if he ends up, not living up to any sort of expectation, they still were able to take a flyer if they can get some home runs out of him. To me, that's an easy fit. I also think that when you look at, a player that gets that change of scenery, right? We've seen it happen with guys before. They get that change of scenery and they kind of, get revitalized, they get reinvigorated. And when you think about what that change could be for Castellanos, going to a team like Cleveland that, yes, it seems kind of out of the blue, right? Because they're one of the more analytically driven teams. His defense isn't great, but obviously they know what they're doing in terms of being able to position players, being able to put them in a position where they can be successful. We saw when Philadelphia adjusted Nick's defense, he started to look a little bit better, right? They had him playing to where everything was coming in and to his glove side. And that started to make a difference there. How much more can a team that's so analytically driven like Cleveland not be able to facilitate something better from Nick Castellanos? And I just think the lack of power from that lineup could be something that easily could put them into a position where they could be a team like that he could go after. Another team that was kind of an honorable mention for me, for much of the same reason as with the Guardians, the cost effectiveness, being able to potentially trade him at the deadline, was the Chicago White Sox. I think that the White Sox could be a team. They're dealing with, a lot of young guys, a lot of different opportunities that are in play, and they could easily pick him up. If he gets hot in the first couple of months of the season, that's another guy that they can trade for some pieces to continue building that team. So I think that that's an interesting opportunity there as well. And then some of the other names that were mentioned as we were kind of chatting about Nick before we got started here was that of the Angels as a potential fit. And they're an outlier candidate at all times to be able to pick up just about anybody. And the one that Rome's been waiting for the entire time to discuss, that I am absolutely vetoing if I'm, having any say whatsoever, and that's with the Yankees. I don't want to see
done. We're done.
I don't want to see him in New York at all. I just don't think that there's a fit there. We already have too many outfield issues as it is, and even though he's a right-handed hitting outfielder, which is something that they've been chasing all offseason, he's not the guy. He's really not. If he was a problem in Philadelphia and they're writing him off, how much more is it going to be in New York, which is just as hostile, if not more so, than Philadelphia? So I think that, there's another opportunity there for him to go someplace else and have a better output. Just to give Rome a little bit more shine, let's not forget about the opportunity of another South Florida team, that he could end up with the Rays. I mean, that fit looks perfect.
Well, a couple things. If I can fire back a couple things. One, I think the Angels would kind of make some sense because they did get rid of Taylor Ward, and they could use the right hand bat. But then again, they are kind of moving Trout to that DH kind of outfield type place, and that almost causes a little redundancy now that I think about it. Because at first I'm thinking, yeah, the Angels might actually work. But then when I start thinking as it like an Angels fan or someone who's in the Angels front office, I don't see the logic behind it. Now, a couple things. And then I promise my last point will be the Rays and why or why not it would not work out. There is something that would be interesting, but we'll get to in a minute. So with Castellanos, when I took a look at him, he reminds me of a gentleman that you may recall. His name's Pat Burrell. Pat Burrell was a very good bat, Pat the Bat, as he was known, in Philadelphia. He was doing well, but he was not very good defensively at all, and that's probably a compliment at best to say he was not very good at all. He unfortunately tried to become a DH only at the Rays, and then he went to a better situation in the Giants. Why did he work out in the Giants? They had a good clubhouse. They had a good base around him, so he was able to grow, whereas he didn't really have that same type of thing. I think the Rays were trying to have him be a little bit more of a nurturer and things like that, and Pepperell just didn't work out. He didn't like playing DH all the time. He didn't like the environment, so on and so forth. So he didn't work out. So I do see some parallels with that. So when I think of what team has a good base, what team has a good professional base that could really let someone like Castellanos just clock in and clock out, besides the Dodgers, there's another team in the Bronx that would work out. Like I keep on trying to come up with reasons not, and I keep on coming back to yes.
I bet you do.
Jeremy, I got you on this, Jeremy. The reason why is when you really look right Nick's swing down, it does not work in Yankee Stadium. He does not hit the ball. It actually, I don't think he's going to Tampa. Don't jump off the bridge yet, Roman. But
no. I'm a pro non-Tampa guy.
It works pro in Tampa's ballpark better than it does in Yankee Stadium. And the one thing that we're not taking into account is this is going to be Nick's choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams that we're mentioning, I'm not sure Nick wants to go back to the rebuild mode. Look, he's probably going to sign tomorrow because I'm crushing the Marlins. I'm not going to the Marlins, and he'll sign tomorrow to the Marlins, and he'll finish in 5th place and 4th place or whatever and be done with it. But he's been that close to winning a world championship. And I think he's going to want to go to a winner. So I think there's no shot he's going to the Angels. There's no shot. Now, look, Guardians, kind of interesting because they're close, and I don't think he's coming to us, but I think he would like to come to a team like Atlanta. Great clubhouse, great team environment, all that. San Francisco has a great coaching staff. Buster Posey is one of the best men in baseball. These teams like that, Dodgers, of course, make sense. But nobody has mentioned the 2 Texas teams, and they both make sense. Houston, and I told Jeremy when we got in pregame, the Astros need a right-handed power stick. He makes sense. He can DH. Eventually they're going to come out of your boy coming from Tampa over there. They're going to get out of him, and they're going to want somebody. And Texas, who has had to cut a lot of payroll because they're trying to save money, a free player that can project to do what Adolis Garcia did might be in Chris Young's wheelhouse. And I would keep the 2 Texas teams out there just because they're both going to be competitive in the AL West, and they could both be a good fit. Also, it is a no-tax state. Nick would probably like that. And a lot of stuff coming into play like that. I think this is going to be Nick's choice. And now, again, he'll sign tomorrow with the Marlins, and y'all can all make fun of me and whatever. But I think he's going to want to go to a winner. And Scott jumped off, had to jump off. But the reason why I don't think he would go to the Cardinals now anyhow, because the Cardinals have openly said we're rebuilding. And I think he's going to want to go to somebody that he has a chance. When you get to that far in your career and you've tasted it, you don't want to go back. And, and I think part of the reason Marcel signed in Pittsburgh, other than Miami, Pittsburgh's probably a little closer than Miami to getting to the playoffs. That's how I feel. So, with that said, he'll sign in Tampa tomorrow, and he'll wear that beautiful jersey you had of his. That was gorgeous. Yeah. And Roman will buy a Nick Castellanos jersey and wear it every day.
So, Coach, in 3, 2, 1, let me explain why. Yandy Diaz. If Yandy Diaz was not there, okay, I just talked about the parallels with the Angels in terms of the redundancy in the roster, and even why it wouldn't work out with the Giants with the redundancy of issues with your boy Lee. Sorry, Koof, nothing personal, but with Yandy Diaz being there, okay. So right now, yes, the right-hand bat will work because they are left-handed strong. They got Mullins, they got Chandler Simpsons, and they got potentially Melton. The guy Melton that they picked up from Houston. They also have Jose Mesa Jr., who might get a look-see probably before Melton, so that way we don't run his clock out. But the point is we're very lefty strong, so righty wouldn't be a bad idea, but not that righty, meaning Castellanos, where, again, when I look at his defensive reps, and you're talking about the Trop, where do you put him in? Left field? Okay, is he going to still use some outs in the outfield? No, he's probably going to complain about the AstroTurf, which is understandable. That's fine. But no, if there was not a Yandy Diaz situation, I would say absolutely. Now, here's an interesting thing, is there's been trade rumors, so maybe that's an excuse to trade someone like Yandy Diaz, and you can get a free option that the Rays will like, and you won't have too much of Jothloff offensively. Now, there are some questions about his, where he is in the clubhouse and other things like that. Do we have the professional setting where he can just grow? There are some guys who have been kind of tough, like Tommy Pham, who have done well in Tampa, because we just kind of let you do your thing, unlike Pat Burrell. So those situations, that could be interesting. So if you see Yandy Diaz suddenly move or his name out there, then don't be surprised if the next move is the Castellanos. So I'm not completely popoing on that idea. I wouldn't necessarily like it, but just trying to think along the parallels with our front office staff, I could see him doing something like that. But Yandy Diaz is also a guy who's very well liked in the Bay Area. He's basically a less pizzazzy version of a Rosarena, and I don't see Yandy Diaz going far anywhere because he has a lot more to the table, unlike Brandon Lau, who had a lot of defensive issues and was hot and cold very quickly. So that's why he didn't stick around. Yandy Diaz is just consistent. So even though I don't think he made everyone's top 10 in DHs, sir.
There was no top DH list.
Did he make your top 10 DH list for
no
the top 10?
List.
Huh?
There's no DH list.
Yeah, exactly. That's the painful thing.
Yeah, MLB Network's never done a DH list. I've always questioned why they haven't, especially now that all 30 teams have it, but they didn't do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if he would have, would you made your top 10? We're almost.
Maybe. I would have to look.
He'd made mine. He'd be 9 or 10.
Well, it's just like Jonathan Aranda. He made your wait. He didn't. Oh, he didn't. A 315 hitter who was an all-star. Yeah, no, I could see that.
Listen, first base is a tough place to get into for Aranda. I need to see more than just 1 year.
Oh my God.
He's hurt. He's devastated. Well, but just to kind of show off the suggestions by Coach of the 2 Texas squad. So Nick in an Astros and a Rangers uniform.
Ooh, he looks good in that Rangers uniform.
He actually does. Like even the Astros, like I was thinking along with Coach, the Astros might be a good fit because they got the Crawford boxes. They absolutely you put him there with Altuve and Isaac Paredes, Coach. When you put him there,
I hate to say his name.
Why?
So I think
that kid underperforms. He should be way better than his talent. Isaac Paredes should be better than his talent.
Yeah, so I think Isak is the reason why Nick Castellanos will not be going to Houston, right?
Okay.
Because when you look at what the Astros are built as right now, they basically replaced Isak at the deadline when they got Correa back, right? Okay. We know Altuve's headed back to second base. They are now, Jeremy Pena's locked in at short. You got Christian Walker, even though it was a down year for him, at first base. Okay. Yordan Alvarez is, floating already between left field and DH. And you have, kind of a mixed bag elsewhere, right? Because they got rid of guys. Nick just doesn't really fit that mold unless you're going to put him playing in left field. But then that now leaves, Isak displaced and Yordan displaced, right? You stick him in right field. That's a bigger right field to play. And not being able to have a good defender out there can be a real problem. So I think that it's going to be, Paredes is going to be the guy that they're already talking about trying to move him anyway. So why would you move him to get him replaced with a guy who's, arguably worse offensively right now? So
save money. The Astros are trying to save money as well. The two Texas teams are both trying to save money. There's no reason why Fromber is where he's at, other than Houston is trying to save money. I mean, it has nothing to do with the catcher and all that stuff. Everybody wants to point to that. But I think Isaac Paredes gets traded. He's the enigma. He should be better than he really is, and he disappoints me. But when we do our preview in Atlanta, we have another one, and I'm friends with him, so I got to be careful. But we have a center fielder that's kind of an enigma too. He should be better than he really is. So, but we need to. I'm just saying that I look at teams that need free money. Again, I don't think he's coming to Atlanta, but if he signs, y'all going to be surprised? Not, because Alex likes that kind of guy. And Dana Brown learned under Alex. I'm just saying, I don't think he fits in Houston as well, but he's going to go somewhere, and it's going to be Nick's choice. And he's going to want, to me, he wants to play for a contender. And like I said, me saying all that, he'll sign with Miami tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, your clubhouse. Do you think that would be a good clubhouse where he could thrive?
Well, that's the reason why you got to talk to Dave, and it'd be the same thing Dana would talk to if the Yankees were interested. And that Brian's going to make. Dave Dombrowski is probably the godfather of GMs in baseball.
Yeah.
So all these other GMs know they can turn to Dave. If San Francisco was interesting, Buster's going to call Dave. Why is he getting rid of him? Yeah. Why is it that you couldn't trade? But they couldn't trade him.
Yeah,
they couldn't trade him. Why you hadn't eat this contract? And he'll be honest. They're not going to say it publicly, but they're going to be honest, and then you'll kind of see. So if he ends up kind of going to a funky team, which we just saw with Quintana, where it makes really no sense. That means he's got to go get his reputation and his career back on track. And so if he ends up with a funky, where did he go? Why did he go there for?
Yeah.
And we know who those teams are. Then he's had issues, and Philadelphia's never going to make that too public. They'll do it on their stars. Dave took a shot at Bryce, and Bryce knows he's right. He needs to be on the field. Yeah. Bryce needs to be on the field, and Bryce, Dave should have done it in public like that. But he's not going to do Nick. I just kind of curious where he may end up. I think the White Sox could be definitely a place if he can't, But if he doesn't go to a contender, then this wasn't Nick's choice, in my opinion.
So here's an interesting idea, and Koof, I'd like to hear your ideas. What do you think on him going to the Royals? Because I was looking through the rosters, what could be an outside liar. The Royals wouldn't be a bad idea. They're still looking for a right-handed bat. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. Didn't the Braves sign Yaz from the Royals? Or am I thinking of the other? Okay,
we did.
So Kansas City might be a good fit because you don't have a right fielder no more because you don't have Mike Yastrzemski, you don't have Yaz, so
If you
why not?
believe if you believe Joel put out what was a few weeks ago that he thought the Royals were one team that were talking to the Phillies about trading for Castellanos because they do need, like Roman said, you said they need another outfield bat out there, and
That could be a good fit, but the more I think about it, I just think Cleveland might be really the
yeah,
best fit, like Germ said. He's
Mhm.
number three and homers, they're not contenders yet, but they're pretty close enough, if you ask me. They're close enough. They're like right there at the door of destiny to just bust it right open. Like, hey, we're Cleveland, baby. We're not just gonna just bow down to Detroit like everybody thinks we're gonna do. Like, nah, Detroit's up there too, but we got Detroit's number two. So I think Cleveland just might be the best fit for him. Just overall fit. And their skipper in Cleveland is a great guy who I think who can talk
that's
to a Nick Nurse, who I think can
that's
just talk
exactly
to a
what.
Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Stephen Vogt could actually. I mean, Nick's going to what do you call it? He's going to respect Stephen Vogt. He played.
exactly.
And I don't think he really respected Rob a little bit, and I think he'll
Yeah,
respect. That we may be hitting on him. We may have to break the news to everybody. That's where he's going. Cleveland would make them up. That's cheap. Cleveland likes cheap. They got a manager. Don't put up. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
He
does
probably
not.
respects him. It's going to be a contending team, and Cleveland might be the one.
Yeah,
Guardians
like I
might be
said,
the team that goes to.
I really just think about Cleveland because, like you said, when I think of Stephen Vogt, a real skipper, like, yeah, he's hard on the players, but it's like he just wants the results. And plus, two, he just wants the best for the player. It's
Mhm.
not like he's just, I'm wanting you to be on you, bro. No, I just see so much potential in that you don't know. I've been there in your shoes. I've seen where your team kind of counts you out and you got to step up to the back and be like, I still got it in me. Watch me real quick. So, just look at last year. Who thought Cleveland would actually come in strong after the way they did and almost take it in at the end of the year? That Detroit fans is kind of scared, like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
we
they
had
they
this
knocked
in the
they
back.
knocked them out of the division.
You know what
Fighting
I'm
all the way back.
saying? Just took it from out the blue and nobody saw it coming. So to me, when I think of teams like that, and like Coach said, if he wants to be a real contender and he has a real shot to pick at where he goes to, Cleveland Guardians just to me it's just a no-brainer for the guy.
Mhm.
It's just everything you need. Everything you need. Just
I agree. Yeah, he's got to be impressed that Stephen Vogt had the kahunas. I guess we can say that on here. The kahunas to play a rookie major league debut in a playoff game.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
as a
what happened?
player, Nick Castellanos. I mean, as a player, players had to respect the mess out of that. I mean, that tells you he looks at talent more than anything, and he might be somebody. I think we maybe be solving the thing for Nick that might be the perfect fit is the Cleveland Guardians.
yeah, definitely a potential opportunity there. So, as you've heard, through much discussion here, there's a lot of potential fits for a player like Nick Castellanos. One final thing that I do want to bring up, just kind of looking at Nick's stats here really quick, is that the thing I want to highlight is when you look at his time in Philadelphia, and this is his baseball reference batting line. He has a B WAR of 1.3 through 602 games in Philadelphia. And when you think back to his time with the Cubs, through 51 games, he had a 1.7 WAR. So that just goes to show you kind of the ineffectiveness that he's had through his time in Philadelphia, which, we're making a lot of different arguments and speculation as to what could be the reason facilitating his departure from Philly. And it could just simply be that he has not met the expectations that were needed for a club that sees himself as a championship caliber team. So it's going to be very interesting to see, kind of where things shake out for Nick and kind of what team, picks him up. As Coach said, we've made the argument for quite a different teams. Could be Cleveland being the best fit in terms of how we see as far as the player and what we expect to be kind of the necessary choices in terms of
Mhm.
being a contender and so on and so forth. and he may end up signing with Miami tomorrow just because he wants to sleep in his bed as much as
Watch
possible.
that be the real case, though. Literally, watch that be the real idea. Or even sometime this afternoon today, we just randomly see Miami Marlins get Nick Castellanos, and we're all just like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, the homecoming and being able to sleep in your bed every night.
Yeah.
Again, it's his choice, so he might want that.
Yeah, you were gonna say something, Rom?
Oh no. I was going to hold this down for the 3 locations that we thought if just because it sounded like we're wrapping up. So holding this down, top 3 locations. Let's go around the room. What do you say? What do you say, Grand Poobah? You good with that, Jay?
Let's go for it.
All right, so I'll go first, seeing that it was my baby, and then let's go Koof, Coach, and then Jeremy, you hit cleanup, all right? All right, so hitting leadoff. So I got number 1, we got Cleveland. Number 2, I got Miami. Number 3, the Bronx Bombers, baby. Write them up. Yeah. Koof, what do you got for the top 3 landing spots of Castellanos?
Realistically, I got number 1 Cleveland Guardians for, like I said, the obvious reasons.
Mhm.
It's just, to me, a no-brainer. Number 2, Kansas City Royals as well. Like Coach said, they were low-key interested to get him in a trade deadline last year. It didn't really work out. You got rid of Yaz Grimsey, you got rid of Yaz, so it's kind of like you have an opening fit. Lastly, I want to say my Giants, but realistically,
Sorry, man.
Miami, like Jerem said, just a hometown reunion just sounds ideal to us as well. So I'd say Cleveland number 1, Kansas City number 2, Miami number 3.
Good list. I think because I think it's Nick's choice. I'm going to say Miami number 1. Maybe he just wants to go home and just try to have a fresh year and rehabilitate himself, and maybe get the contract next year, a couple-year contract. Cleveland Guardians number 2. I just think it's just a perfect fit for him to go to Cleveland, and this will get my Braves fans stirred up. I'm going to say he just looks like an Alex guy. I don't think he will, but I could surprisingly see him in Atlanta, and then Roman can really pick on me because I don't want him in Atlanta. And I will say this: if he ends up in Atlanta, I'll buy a Nick Castellanos jersey because I never wanted him to play in Atlanta, and that just seems like that's how our off season's going. They're going down in the dumpster here with people getting hurt, but it looks like an Alex move, and I'll just put Atlanta 3rd.
Oh,
All right. So I'll round out here, and I'll go 3-1. So I think what a team that always seems to just be in the mix for everybody that doesn't make sense is the Angels. Obviously, when you think about what the Angels have been throughout the course of the last several years, they make a bunch of curious moves. And while I do believe that Nick is going to want to go to a contending team, I think that there's, an opportunity for him to kind of go out there and play every single day. And I think that with a lot of the other teams that we've mentioned, he's going to be a platoon guy. And I think that with the Angels, this is an opportunity where he could go out there and play every single day. As Rome mentioned, the trading away of Taylor Ward was, to me, a big reason why I think the Angels could be a fit. But, and just because I'm going to double up on my article, I think that the Padres are also a potential fit because of the same reasons, right? I think that there's still opportunities there for them to, have kind of space and opportunity. And, to me, that's a potential fit, especially because, San Diego's so nice all the time. And if you want to go to a place where you can go have a packed house, have that kind of playoff atmosphere, that's been San Diego over the last couple of seasons. So I think that that's a potential fit. But if my, number 2, number 1 picks, my number 2 is Cleveland for a lot of the reasons that we've mentioned, right? Being able to be close to, contention, a team that's going to be fighting in the mix, a team that's going to be battling for division crown. There's no doubt about it that the Guardians are right at the edge of, taking that next step, right? They've been right there. They've been battling. They've been fighting. And, a guy who has that, playoff experience, who has that, kind of been, as Coach said, right there, tasted the bite of it, the apple, just trying to get the full bore of it. Cleveland's also been there, right? You think back to, even 2016 when they were in the World Series, Game 7. I mean, you can't go from that moment and all these years of fighting and fighting and fighting and, not get there. Picking up a guy who's had some playoff experience, who can be a guy who, by all accounts could come in and make the difference in terms of what's been your most lacking feature in terms of power output, right? Home runs and RBIs are still the currency of the day. And Nick would have been highly regarded, even with his, negative .8 B WAR in 2025, would have still been the third ranked home run hitter and the second ranked RBI leader in the Guardians lineup last year. So it's definitely a possible fit there. But to me, the number one and most likely landing destination, he's going home. I think that when you look at the way that his career has unfolded the last 4 years of Philadelphia, it's always felt to me like this was just, a matter of time before he just went home. And I think that there's, something to be said about being able to go play in front of your hometown team, play in front of your family, being able to go and sleep in your bed at night. We hear a lot of players sign with the Diamondbacks because they live in Arizona and they're close to home. They're able to, sleep in their bed. Why wouldn't Nick want to be able to go out there and play in front of his family and go home with them that same night, when they're playing in Lone Depot Park? To me, that it's just the move that makes the most sense in terms of what it seems like Nick's, kind of MO is. This is a guy who's kind of been carefree. When you listen to him speak in interviews, when you listen to the way he kind of approaches things, it's kind of just that carefree attitude. So why not go home, right? So that to me is the most likely landing destination for Nick Castellanos. But biggest thing we want to know now is beyond where he ends up, where do you see him ending up, fans? We definitely want to hear from you in the comment section below. We've had a fun time being able to discuss. I want to thank Scott for joining us when he was able to here as well. But we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts as to, Nick and where he could end up, kind of your thoughts. And Phillies fans, what are your thoughts on his, 4-year tenure so far with the Phillies? What do you see as kind of been his highlight moments? Let us know that down in the comments. And while you're there, as always, if you haven't, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below and the bell for post notifications, as it truly does help us continue to build and grow this baseball community here on the Baseball Banter broadcast. And again, I want to thank my crew for joining me here. Thanks Scott for joining us when he was. Koof, Rome, Coach Ken, I want to thank you guys for joining me as well. And we'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.